Player, Damien. Date of connection, July 29, 2020. Current location, Whispering Island. Notification, welcome to Archaea. Damien frowned at the fading sight. The sensation of lying in the capsule had disappeared. This island was the first place where human users of AC arrived before heading to the main continent, and it was like a cradle to stay until then. Damien had been to this place before as well. I'm really back. Damien closed his eyes and breathed in the air. It was a renewed feeling of excitement. The memories that passed like a dream over the last 10 years of gameplay. Damien slowly recollected all of them and engraved the name of a man that came to mind in his mind. Young Human. It was a name that he could never forget. Friend, the world is as it is. Everyone has their place. Vultures are vultures, garbage is garbage, and the lower class is the lower class. But these life losers become heroes. This is a serious error, isn't it? Well, anyway, you need losers like you in the world too. Thanks to you, dungeons are cleared and demon kings are defeated. It's killing 2 birds with 1 stone, isn't it? You son of a BH. Damien clenched his fist. It was a terrible memory. That despicable voice, that despicable face, that despicable inner being. Thinking of the leader of the expedition that he once believed in, Damien felt an unbearable anger rising. Even tearing that hyena apart right now would not be enough to satisfy him. It was no exaggeration to say that he became a terminal patient who lost everything because of that guy. Even now, 10 years later, nothing had changed. Damien had no intention of forgiving Human. Huff. Damien took a deep breath, looking up at the sky. He didn't act out of madness. There was no more pitiful and foolish thing than wasting emotions on irreversible events. And for Damien, it was much more important to find out what had happened to him than to be bound by the past. Revenge was the next thing. I'll find you, young human, and I'll take away everything you have, leaving no bones behind. It doesn't matter if it takes months or years. You won't survive in this game. This shouldn't be happening. Damien was standing in the middle of a forest filled with recordings. It was a remote mountainous area with few people. He should have landed in the Whispering Island in Beginner's Village, Dunbarton. But looking back now, he couldn't even see a single ant around, let alone Dunbarton. He had arrived in completely the wrong place. Can't the great Evertail even fix one bug? Damien shook his head. Something was definitely off. Even though it was 10 years ago and the game had just started service now. It was unbelievable that Evertail couldn't fix even one bug. Notice, countdown is resetting. Notice, text number 1. Notice, starting test. Until the message appeared in front of him. Condition 2, if your character dies, you, the player, will also die. Condition 3, if your character fails to achieve the designated goal within a certain period of time, you, the player, will also die. Note, if the player attempts to remove the system arbitrarily, the character and player will die, so be careful. What? Damien couldn't close his mouth at the message that appeared in front of him. It was unbelievable. If he didn't log in within 168 hours, he would die. If his character died, he, the player, would also die. If he failed to achieve the designated goal within a certain period of time, he, the player, would also die. Damien didn't know if these messages were real or not, but soon he would find out that they were. He was hit with a chilling pain throughout his body. Notification, updating player Damien's ultimate goal. Ultimate goal, Demon King's Descent. Remaining time, 87,599 hours 59 minutes 59 seconds. Ugh, Damien collapsed to the ground. It felt like he had been electrocuted. This eerie pain that dug into his bones. Although Axe's sensory system had sophisticated corners that were difficult to distinguish between virtual and reality, it did not implement all senses 100%. After all, it was just a game. As long as a human body existed in a state of suspension inside a capsule, there was a high probability that it would truly accept stimulation. If Evertail had not limited the function of the capsule, by now, tens of millions of users would have suffered from after effects or even died. The technology implemented by Evertail was called innovative for a reason. However, what the hell did you do to my body? As if mocking Damien's common sense, the system simply released the sensory limit. The messages he had heard and seen were not mere lies. Ultimate. What? Ding. Then, a message appeared in front of Damien's eyes. Occupation, Voodoo Priest. Affiliation, none. Personality, 9,999,999,999. Title, Extreme Evil. Attributes, Strength 1, Stamina 1, Agility 1, Intelligence 1, Skill 1, Luck 1. Damn it. Damien muttered a curse as he looked at the strange status screen in front of him. Something was off. A message appeared, saying that the limit had been lifted by the system and a new class was bestowed upon him. Before he knew it, his occupation had become one he had never heard of before, and Damien could not help but narrow his eyes. A voodoo priest who holds the power of primordial strength is someone who is close to ancient sorcery, curses, death, and the realm closest to death. Their identity is shrouded in mystery, and they are dangerous individuals who believe that death is rest. Rank, hidden. Description: uses spells in the poison, curse, summon, bone, blood, corpse, and spirit categories. Instead of powerful attacks, they are sustained damage dealers who accumulate damage to bring down their enemies. It was a creepy class name. What kind of crappy class is this? Damien frowned. His stats were completely unbalanced. A class that relied solely on magic power and was all about magic power. That meant he had nothing outstanding, and that special attacks were the norm. In short, it was a subclass. Magic power was the opposite of recovery power, and was a stat that affected curses or debuffs. Despite being a hidden class, the reason Damien could not smile was because of that. A job-like position or trap hunter that debuffs or traps from behind was not suitable for his temperament. Moreover, warning, your personality is very low. Personality: 9,999,999,999. Notice, personality penalty will be applied. Damien could only blink in confusion at the message he just received. It was because he was seeing a number he had never seen before right in front of him. Does this make any sense? Damien bit his lip as he looked at his personality score. Assuming that the score drops by 1 for each person killed, this score would require killing about 1 billion people. Furthermore, this score was unheard of even for the veteran PK user, who had been playing the game for 10 years. It was theoretically impossible. For example, to achieve a personality score of this magnitude, all users in the game would have to be killed. Isn't this a bug? Experience points decrease by 500% upon death. Item drop rate increases by 500% upon death. Equipment destruction probability increases by 500% upon death. Automatic detention in a detention center upon arrest. Protection from safe zones is removed. NPC attack upon being exposed. This is insane. Damien held his forehead. Of course, he had been warned that he would really die if he died once due to the ridiculous system. Right now, Damien's perception could make him a traitor to the nation or on the same level as a demon lord. Enemies were all around. The moment he was caught, he would be an enemy to all users and NPCs alike. Perhaps his goal had already been achieved, but he couldn't give up. He might have to risk his life, but he couldn't just wait to die now that he had a chance to go back 10 years through divine intervention. Damien's fist made a brutal sound. So, you're a new adventurer from another world. Welcome. Hello. The village chief Elmore's eyes widened when Damien spoke. He was a strange adventurer. Judging by his appearance, he was definitely a new adventurer from another world. But unlike the adventurers he had seen so far, Damien had a peculiar aspect. Why did you wear a bread bag on your head? Because it looks cool. What? Cool? Yes. Is he crazy? In other words, Damien had been wearing a bread bag with 2 holes in it, like a helmet, and was walking around Denbaton. Elmore tried to cough nervously at Damien's appearance. He was definitely out of his mind. Okay, let's say you can flip a bread bag over 100 times. But why would you do that just because it's cool? Elmore wondered if Damien's bad first impression was due to his bizarre fashion sense. He had no idea it was because of his 9,999,999,999 personality traits. As you know, this Whispering Island is full of mutated chicks. Every year, there are so many attacks that there are no barns left. They're also so nasty that they're a pain in the neck. I know. So, what I'm saying is, can you catch only 10 chicks near the village? If you do that for me, I'll give you some useful things that can be used here. If they're useful, they're very useful for a naked man like you. Ding. And then, a quest window appeared in front of Damien. As a newly arrived person in the Arcia continent, defeat the Whispering Island's mutated chicks and protect the barns of Denbaton village. Category: Tutorial. Content: kill 10 chicks and collect 10 yellow feathers. Progress: 0%. Reward: beginner set from Elmore. In order to cross from this Whispering Island to the continent, Damien needed a letter of recommendation from Elmore. That was why Damien had used the back of a bread bag. This is really hitting me hard. Damien sighed as he looked up at his bread bag. It was an unavoidable situation. Although he had been treated as a mental patient, he was able to complete the quest safely. Damien headed toward the mountain behind the village. It was the place where he was first summoned. At first, he thought he had been summoned to a not-so-good place, not a Whispering Island. Even Damien, who had been living in Arcia for 10 years, didn't know that it was a mountain behind the village. No one, including him, was interested in the mountain behind the village, located at the end of the island. Skill window. Ding. As Damien muttered quietly, the skill window appeared in front of him. He was examining the skills of a dark magician. Even though his character's ability stats were completely focused on magic power, he was still a hidden class. Hidden jobs, also known as Easter eggs or regulars, always left a strong impact whenever they appeared. The reason why hidden classes were excluded from the general Advanced Rare Hero Legend mythical class system in AC was precisely because of this. Considering the class performance table of hunting, raiding, and siege warfare in AC, which is divided into FEDCBS grades, hidden classes could be either FFF or SSS grades. Of course, the fact that he had become unable to party with anyone, despite having the maximum magic power for party hunting, was of no help to him. Toxic Dart, Soul Return, Bloodlust, Corrupting Potion, Voodoo Doll, Zombify. As he checked his skill list, Damien stroked his chin. Most of the skills were inactive. While beginners below level 10 typically operate 2-3 skills, the Voodoo Practitioner could only learn all skills except Toxic Dart after reaching level 10, and the effects of the skills were unknown. If it was hardcore, it was hardcore. However, Toxic Dart is for dealing damage. Soul Return is for summoning. Bloodlust is a buff. Is Corrupting Potion a debuff? While checking the grayed out skill names, Damien speculated on their effects. He was quick to grasp. While there may be skills he didn't know, he knew better than anyone how the skills were categorized. His insight was his greatest advantage and his accumulated experience. Damien's terrifying point was that it's not important whether it's 1 or 2 skills. What matters is how effective they are. In that regard, the main skill being ranged is a plus. If there is also poison damage, hunting speed won't lag behind. Then, I can hunt twice as fast as others. With a slight smile, Damien's lips curled up. Damien narrowed his eyes as he saw a monster appear through the grass. It was only the size of a fist. It had a chubby belly and a cute little butt. This monster, which appeared with its yellow fur fluttering, was one of the main monsters on Whisper Island. Despite its cute appearance, it was one of the monsters that couldn't be underestimated. A wild variation of a chick that lives on Whisper Island. Despite its cute appearance, it has a very bad temperament. With a thud, the chick screamed as Damien's attack hit it right in the center of its body. In his hand was a wooden rod only as long as his forearm, and a small poison sting about 5 centimeters long shot out from the end of the stick. Weapon classification, wind gun. Attack speed, fast. Grade, normal. Option, attack power +5. Description, a wooden toy gun. It is easy to shoot small darts or arrows. Since the sensory limit had been lifted by the system, Damien's body had become greatly weakened. After learning that he would also die if his character died, he put a lot of effort into controlling himself. His condition was no different from using a cow's knife to catch a chicken. He had not been able to utilize all of his resources to their fullest potential. How pathetic. I might as well be dead. Damien lay on the ground, looking up at the sky. This was a new experience for him. He had never before used all his energy and stamina to fight against just one baby chick. Of course, he hadn't even been hit once, but Damien didn't think that was a good thing. As long as the fear that was unconsciously controlling his body remained, there would be problems with his control. I can't go on like this. Damien got up. Notification, reached level 2. And Damien's level increased. Job, Voodoo Priest. Affiliation, none. Title, Extreme Evil. Stats, Strength 1, Endurance 1, Agility 1, Intelligence 1, Skill 1, Luck 1. There are 5 remaining stat points. Remaining stats, 5. Damien raised an eyebrow as he looked at the status screen. Something was off. The system window showed that there were 5 remaining stat points, a value that even Damien, a 10-year veteran of the game, had never seen before. Despite appearing insignificant at first glance, it was an enormous number, equivalent to several magnitudes of a normal class. This is insane. Damien muttered as he stared at the status screen. He wondered if it was a bug. In general, rare or lower classes gain 1 stat point, hero classes gain 2 stat points, and legendary classes gain 3 stat points. This was common knowledge in AC. It meant that simply using flashy and unique techniques was not enough. Furthermore, considering that the mythical grade, which had an average stat of 4-5, only came out at an average rate of 0.000019%. The fact that the Voodoo Priest had a performance comparable to that of a mythical class based on stat quantity alone was a clear fact that even a passerby could tell. It was only natural for Damien to be dumbfounded by his own stats, enough to make it worthwhile. Damien nodded his head. A glimmer of light seemed to shine. As long as the Voodoo Priest was given 5 stat points per level, the gap between him and other classes would become increasingly clear as he leveled up. This gap would inevitably become an unstoppable force like a swollen river. As someone who had spent tens of millions of dollars on a single stat, Demian knew all too well the difference it made. The value of AC stats had resulted in a geometrically progressive difference that was far greater than expected. Young Yumin. Demian narrowed his eyes. Suddenly, memories of the guy passed through his mind. This time, I'll win. Thud. Then Demian clenched his fist. How was it? Not bad, as I thought. As the capsule lid opened, the young man lightly ran his hand through his hair. His face was filled with excitement and passion. He stood at 182 centimeters tall and weighed 71 kilograms. With a sleek figure and sharp features, this young man was the epitome of a handsome, well-built guy that could make any celebrity jealous. Furthermore, he was the fourth grandson of the chairman of the prestigious, and had gained fame as the top pro gamer in the past 10 years of the popular AOS game. In fact, it was almost an exaggeration to say that there was hardly anyone in South Korea who did not know his name. His name was Young Yumin, a man who seemed to have everything in the world. Damn it, what the hell? As his smartphone rang, Yumin turned his head, glaring with a sharp look in his eyes. If someone had been standing in front of him at that moment, he might have attacked them with a deadly weapon. However, when he saw the caller ID on his smartphone, his face became expressionless, as if it had always been that way. From the sender, Director Kim Woo-sung. He was the man in charge of him at the Yushin Group. Please speak, Director. Yes, Your Highness. I will begin. First, when Yumin answered the phone, Director Kim continued his briefing. Director Kim suggested the most efficient route to Yumin, who listened and chose the most optimized method. For the fourth grandson of the chairman of the Yushin Group, it was a completely feasible task. Some might question whether it makes sense to allocate resources to developing a mere game character, but in Korea, there was almost nothing he couldn't do. His word had the power to make anything happen, no matter how trivial, because that was the strength he possessed and the world he lived in. Yumin's lips drew a smile. It was a sly smile. Contrary to the friendly image of the land boyfriend known in various media, the present Yumin was cold and almost sociopathic, lacking emotion. It was an instinctive persona. He knew better than anyone else how to excite the public and make himself likable. It could be said that it was his innate talent for surviving in the conglomerate world of the Yushin Group. The novice user, Matt Joking, turned his head at the sudden sound. It was quite a noisy sound. At first, it sounded like the sound of a construction drill or the sound of dozens of people running at once. And as the loud sound grew louder, Matt Joking saw a cloud of dust rising from the other side of the construction site. Oh my, some crazy person was driving a flock of chickens. What kind of madness is this? Matt Joking opened his mouth as he watched the flock of chickens pass by. There were roughly 30 of them. Although the Whispering Island was said to be a novice area, it was not possible to hunt like this all at once. Moreover, the physics engine of AC was designed by the Hyper AI, Archaic Record, to be even closer to reality than reality itself, so when hit by a monster, there was something called pain sensation. In other words, it was a sound of pain. Just as a person can't keep their wits about them when surrounded by several people and can only take a beating, it was natural for a player's body to crumple. What's wrong with him? Is he crazy enough to die? He's a tamer, UFR. Chamsu. What's with the tamer talk? Those bastards only raise one strong monster. Loveclean, you're the next ignorant FR. The reason why novices didn't do mass hunting was precisely because of this. It was even more so for higher grade monsters like chickens and roosters. Cock-a-doodle-doo. As soon as a chicken ran towards him, Demian quickly turned his head. He didn't even bother to pay attention to the chat window. The protagonist who had driven away dozens of chickens. As a veteran player of 10 years, he intentionally sought out crazy things that others claimed would drive them mad, and even risked his life to do so, making his hunting truly dangerous. It was either kill or be killed. Unlike other players who would simply log out when their HP ran out, Demian, who would die in real life if he died in the game, was truly risking his life. Even in the midst of all this, Demian had to multitask, shooting poison needles at the flock of chickens while also adjusting his distance so as not to fall behind them. It was insane control. For an ordinary player, even dodging would be difficult in that split second. Meanwhile, Demian was calculating the HP of the chicken flock in his head, both hunting and dealing with them, making sure no items dropped in the process. It was only natural that the entire flock of chickens would be poisoned, as it was a hunting method that only Demian could accomplish. As Demian stopped, a flock of chickens quickly surrounded him. It was a dead end, a deserted forest far from the beginner's field, filled with various trees and bushes. Although he had managed to reduce their HP with his unbelievable control and skill, poison sting, Damien could only lick his lips at the chickens and roosters that were right in front of him. A wild chicken that inhabits the Whispering Island. It's a big mistake to think of it as an ordinary native chicken. KKO. And then they rushed forward. When one of the chickens screamed, the others rushed in like a wave crashing down. It was a creepy sight to behold as they charged forward, their movements instilling a sense of dread in the onlookers. Cock-a-doodle-doo. But as the flock of chickens ran towards him, a sound of something breaking echoed through the air, and suddenly the ground within a few meters radius of Damien crumbled and collapsed. With a deafening crash, the chickens fell into the pit that Damien had set up, sacrificing his life to lure them to this location. You become my experience points. With a fierce determination, Damien attacked the chickens with his venomous stinger. Notification: you have defeated a rooster. Notification: you have defeated a hen. Notification: you have defeated a rooster. Damien roared triumphantly at the system messages that appeared before him. The amount of experience points he had gained was immense. There were dozens of chicken flocks scattered below him, and he was able to take them out with his stinger while risking his own life in the process. Finally, after a fierce battle for survival, Damien slumped down on the edge of the pit, watching as the chickens gradually faded away as his HP had depleted. To take out these chickens, Damien had spent hours setting up this trap. Even so, there were variables. Although he succeeded in luring them here and overcoming the danger of death, some of the chickens that seemed unlikely to fly up onto the pit did indeed fly up. He had to launch a charge or form a formation and engage in a more intense attack than expected. I almost died for real. Thump. So, while engaging in a fierce hand-to-hand combat with the charging chicken flock, Damien also had to exercise meticulous control by pouring poison into the pit to prevent them from climbing up again. Notification: you have gained experience. That's right. As the message announcing his level up appeared, Damien's mouth curved into a smile. It was like a small victory in the face of adversity. The Elmore quest, which led from a baby chick to a hen, and then to a rooster, was almost complete with this one operation. The increasing control skill was just a bonus. By using a method of pushing himself to the limit in every battle, Damien succeeded in awakening a new sensation that he had never experienced before. Even in his days as a ranker, it could be said to be some unknown realm, like a super sense. Before he knew it, Damien had crossed far beyond the boundaries of the criminals, including pro gamers. As the system message appeared, the man's face turned pale. The messages were popping up like candy. There were beginner sets covered in chicken feathers and items scattered all around. In front of him were dead chickens with poison fangs, gradually becoming transparent as their HP decreased. These were the chickens he had just defeated. 11, 12, 13, 14. You've already collected 14. As the chickens died, Xiaomenjang picked up items. It was quite a lot. 14 white feathers. Considering that he had only been hunting for 10 minutes, Xiaomenjang's speed was truly remarkable, as he had not even reached level 10 yet. Notification: obtained white feather. This was because he was not even level 10 yet. Are you kidding me? Hahaha, this is so easy. I admit it's easy to suck up the honey. Laughter flowed from behind Xiaomenjang as he picked up the feathers. They were friends who had formed a party together. The 6-member party of Buell friends, consisting of Dongqiao, Minyoung, Namsu, Jinseng, and Jingyou, had only recently started playing AC, but they were more eager to level up than anyone else. Usually, players with similar levels to Xiaomen would have to attack with a party to defeat chickens and roosters, and even then, it would be impossible to kill them with a single blow like he did. It was a phenomenon that seemed easy to understand at first glance, given that even players who could achieve this kind of feat would need a weapon that could generate 5 times more power than Xiaomen's. Without a bug, it couldn't be explained. Except for one thing, unless they were stealing. Am I becoming a ranker soon at this rate? AC is not that great, haha. Xiaomen laughed as he killed the chickens. It didn't matter who the owner was. What mattered to Xiaomen was not who was responsible for the poison, but how famous the AC rankers were in the media. Xiaomen felt like he was just one step away from gaining money and fame, just like Axe rankers. Hey, aren't we going to be rich if we become BJs? Streamers are much better. They make a month's worth of money in a day. The scream of Xiaomenjang echoed loudly. It was a shock as if his eyeballs were about to burst. Although it was unclear what hit him, the force was so strong that Xiaomenjang's body rotated in triple acceleration in midair. Even if he didn't know, it was undoubtedly an attack that almost killed him, as system messages appeared before his eyes. Alert, your character has. Alert, you cannot control your character for 5 seconds. Xiaomenjang swallowed a groan at the voice of the system message. His body didn't move properly. Seeing his larynx twitching, he seemed to have been hit squarely in the head. Qiao Min. As soon as Qiao Minjing collapsed to the ground, Pigiri, including Dong Qiao, rushed towards him, shouting. They thought Qiao Minjing was dead. Qiao Min, are you okay? Snap out of it, man. When Qiao Minjing had a seizure, Dong Qiao grabbed and shook him. It happened in the blink of an eye. It seemed like just a moment ago, he was picking up an item, but who attacked him? Dong Qiao and others, who were just with him a moment ago, could not understand why Qiao Minjing was rolling on the ground, until the unfamiliar voice was heard from behind. What the FK is this? It's you, the bastard that Qiao Min created. Dong Qiao and others were alarmed at the man's appearance. They couldn't approach him easily, although all he was wearing was black boxer shorts. The enormous physique of 185 centimeters tall and 90 kilograms of weight alone created a sense of intimidation. Hey, you guys, you ate it. Mind, what did we eat? FKU. In reality, the muscle-bound pig was undoubtedly a rare specimen, unlike the worthless level it possessed. This was because of the nature of the capsule that scanned the player's physical condition, which made it not easy to obtain a body like mine. Spit out what you ate. Say it nicely. Damien narrowed his eyes. He didn't want to drag it out. He was already busy leveling up. Due to the wind of ignorant people stealing his chickens, Damien's mood was not good. Originally, hitting Qiao Minjing's head was just a thought of game over. However, the fact that Qiao Minjing survived was simply due to the variable that occurred because his own ability stats were low, rather than Damien planning for it. These kids who haven't even dried the blood on their heads. Where did you pick up someone else's food? If you keep doing that, you'll really get beaten up. And as Damien covered his ear with one hand, while giving a warning gesture to Dong Qiao, who was standing still and menacing. Die, you bastard. Suddenly, along with the voice of someone shouting behind Damien, the novice wooden sword began to fall towards his head. It was Qiao Minjing. This crazy bastard. Damien dodged the wooden sword, wetting his upper body, and grabbed the wind gun. They were people who couldn't understand what he said. Even though it was a time when they couldn't hear anything with their ears, they were so foolish that they couldn't even have any sense. Did you think you were going to get away with that? Damien beat Qiao Minjing's head with a surprise attack, realizing that he couldn't just let them pass without enjoying it, seeing Dong Qiao and others running towards him. FCK. Kill him. Drop him, UFCker. They were undoubtedly the same kind of idiots as Qiao Minjing. I definitely warned you. Sweat, Damien murmured as he watched Dong Qiao and others rushing in. Even without looking, it was obvious. The reason why Dong Qiao and others suddenly changed their attitude. They must have signaled each other with a party message, and suddenly, Damien sensed a presence coming from Dong Qiao, who was within a radius of a few meters, and even easily predicted how they would attack. He could even see at a glance where to strike for an easy kill. This was a different experience from his past battles as a suicide bomber, and it was a strange experience he had never felt before. Through battles with flocks of chickens and crossing fire lines, Damien had gained a new sense that he had never had before. He named this sense and was keenly aware of its performance. If I hit the bottom right, the diagonal top, and the middle like this, kill him. As Damien swung his club, one of the attackers screamed. In the blink of an eye, he had been hit somewhere, but it was like a sudden shock, as if he had been in a traffic accident, and a sudden strike to a vital point. This ex-bastard. Attack all at once. Thud, thud, thud. And as one of the attackers fell, the rest, including Dong Qiao, began to rush forward with screams. Of course, it was an unorganized rush, with too many gaps to consider even forming a proper formation. It was perhaps very natural for Damien to strike them down in seconds. I told you to spit it out. Thump. As Damien knocked down 4 of them in an instant, Dong Qiao's face turned pale. It was impossible to tell what was happening. After tapping Min Yong's jaw and kicking Namsu, he stepped on Jin Sang and Jin Jiao's feet and drove a venomous sting into them. Although Damien's attacks didn't have much skill or power, they were enough to overwhelm the rookies, including Dong Qiao. Notification: party member has died. From the beginning, the outcome was already decided. Madness. What the hell is that guy? When Jin Sang and Jin Jiao died, Dong Qiao and others ran away, screaming. He was crazier than he thought. Although he was a different martial arts fighter, there was no way he couldn't handle a beginner. Dong Qiao believed that Qiao Min's ambush would be successful, and was preparing for it through the party message that Qiao Min had left behind. So he rushed in. Even if the opponent was a big guy who could slap him around, he had already defeated some beginners through several fights. They knew very well that there was no such thing as no business in daguerre, an old saying. But Dong Qiao finally realized what they had stirred up, as he watched the carnage unfolding before his eyes, unable to even close his mouth. You damn dog-like bastard. Damien not only peeked without any hesitation, but also intentionally became a so-called chaotic user with a negative tendency. Crazy. We messed with the wrong people. Dong Qiao broke out in cold sweat as he read his friend's death messages. He had no time to look back. These chaotic users or chaos were specialized in peeking and targeting those who had become chaotic. In other words, they were people who had no qualms about killing. Other names for them included kill on sight or Kos. These chaos were on a different level from Dong Qiao and his companions, who had killed only a few people, and their main purpose was to steal players' goods through peeking. They were criminals. They often formed groups with other chaos to hunt people and operated a Kos guild, and sometimes committed atrocities, such as hunting and controlling players professionally. There was a good reason why they risked severe penalties to PK. They were not normal. Hey, you ex-bastard, let's get him. As friends passed by, Qiao Min, who had been lying on the ground, shouted out. It was after he had just come to after fainting. Although his body couldn't move, Qiao Min had clearly seen how Damien had manipulated his friends and realized how terrifying of a person he was. So it was natural for his mind to become restless, as if his body was itching. Something was going wrong. I have to run away. I'll die if I stay here. As Damien chased Dong Qiao, Qiao Min moved in a fetal position. He looked like a soldier dodging bombs. At times he seemed like a worm, at other times like a snake. The way he looked could differ depending on the observer, but one thing was the same. The thrashing of Qiao Min's body was an urgent attempt to escape from this place. Huh? As Dong Qiao's scream echoed, Qiao Min choked. It was a spine-chilling feeling. The moment Damien plunged his poisonous stinger into the back of Dong Qiao's head and flew over his fallen body like an avenging spirit. Qiao Min could see the system window pop up at the same time as he witnessed Dong Qiao being ruthlessly trampled. It was too gruesome and terrible to look at. Qiao Min's face, which had been rough just moments ago, was now as white as a sheet, proof of his emotions. Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it. As Dong Qiao died, Qiao Min frantically pressed the system window. It was the logout button. If he could only escape from this damn game as soon as possible, even for just one day. Notification, cannot log out during battle. Leave the battle area. Notification, 298 seconds until logout. However, the system window kept repeating that it couldn't log out, and Qiao Min had no choice but to stop pressing the button. It was a strange and chilling feeling as if someone was standing behind him. Where are you going? And Damien's poisonous stinger pierced Qiao Min's back of the head. Alert, you have obtained 47 white feathers. Alert, you have obtained 11 lesser HP potions. Not bad, better than expected. Damien drew a smile at the messages that appeared in front of him. These were the items dropped by Qiao Min's gang, from the equipment items they were wearing to the materials gathered while hunting. If he collected them all, he could make up for all the losses he suffered, but Damien was more interested in something else. Alert, your alignment has decreased by 1. Alert, there is no further decrease in alignment. His alignment could not decrease anymore. Even a piece of crap has its use. Is this the right expression to use at a time like this? Damien stroked his chin while looking at the system window that appeared in front of him. It was an unexpected gain. Damien had guessed that his alignment value had hit rock bottom, but he didn't really know if it was true. Isn't it a gain anyway? Nodding his head, Damien thought that the current situation was not bad since there would be no more penalties and he could devour their items as they were. In fact, it was more of a merit. Generally, players in the game would calculate their penalties before engaging in PK, but the protagonist didn't need to do so because he had the appropriate title, Extreme Evil. There was no reason for him to hold back from PK. Extreme Evil is a title given to someone whose disposition cannot be worse. It is no exaggeration to say that they are a manifestation of a demon. Its effects are as follows. Item drop rate from PK victim plus 500%. Gold drop rate from PK victim plus 500%. Automatically acquire PK victim's wealth. Acquire victim's loss of experience points due to death. The protagonist, Damien, acquired the title Extreme Evil along with the disposition of 9,999,999,999. This is not a cheat, right? Damien exclaimed in admiration as he looked at the options that came with the title Extreme Evil. Ironically, it was good for him. He had learned that even if he PK'd a lot, his disposition wouldn't decrease, and with the effects of Extreme Evil, he could overcome the penalties. Just by reaching level 10, it was evident. While others would lose experience points upon death, Damien could absorb them fully. In short, he had a get-out-of-jail-free card that fit with his principle of repaying kindness 100 times and revenge 1,000 times. I would love to kill someone. Anyone. Very much. Damien smiled slyly, and then his smile drew a subtle curve. That will be all for now. I hope you find this story interesting. Leave a like, subscribe, and enable notifications so you won't miss the next part of this story. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.